the scariest moment of filming a movie. So when we made Act of Valor, the movie a few years ago, well, now it's well over a decade ago that we made, all active duty SEALs put on orders to go make this movie with kind of a geopolitical threat scenario that was real. We tried to show authentic levels of how we do things, how we feel about the job, our families, and what that all entails without obviously giving a playbook to the bad guys. So it was a wild experience to kind of film amongst active duty what we did and how we kind of see the world through the eyes of SEALs and special operators. But when we were getting to the end of filming that movie, we've already filmed almost all the scenes we're going to contend in. Actually, this is the last block of filming. We were filming this scene where it's kind of like the final moment where we're getting hopefully getting the final bad guy and kind of closing out the film. And the company, we're doing this filming out in El Centro. So it's out east of San Diego, a little bit of a drive to get out there. And the film company's like, hey, the families really haven't had a chance to see this because we were filming in different locations. So they kind of invited wives, families to come out and watch some of the filming. They took great care of our families. They had food and great, awesome places to watch the filming and this stuff. Got them, hotel rooms and all that good stuff. But we were on a break between filming. Everybody's hanging out, having lunch. And, my bride and my buddy Dave's bride and his kids, then a bunch of them are sitting around. And we're sitting with one of the directors, Mouse McCoy, great dude, unbelievable motorcycle stunt man, one of just the wildest cats you're ever going to meet. His bride was actually doing kind of costume and makeup for the film. She'd always make sure there's continuity in what we were wearing and also just kind of running the set and making things work. Shout out to Carmela, amazing, amazing woman. But we're all sitting together having lunch. And one of the directors comes out of the kind of booth where they do editing and are watching reels and playback of what they filmed, make sure they didn't miss anything, everything's in focus, sounds good, all those different things. But he comes out and he says, hey, to the wives, would you like to come in and watch this little highlight reel we've made of the film? And so they're kind of like, oh man, that sounds exciting. And then all of us are like, well, we get to come in too, right? They're like, absolutely not. It's just for the ladies. And so they kind of go in, and then the director explained later, is like, look, there's nothing worse than watching yourself on camera. And if you did it before we finish this scene, you're going to think you need to change the way you're acting or the way your voice sounds. It would ruin you. That's why we did that. But when they went in, we knew that our ladies were going to see this footage, and we were nervous about it. I mean, everybody was nervous about it. Well, Carm stayed out there with us as they went in to watch that. She'd already seen it. But she told an interesting story, and I've never forgotten it, about that moment in that kind of adventure. She had married Mouse, who again is one of the best stuntmen and one of the best motorcycle riders for real on earth. Mouse almost won the Baja 1000, which is considered by many to be one of the top 2 or 3 gnarliest truck motorcycle race you can run. Most of the teams that run that race run it in 3-man, 3-women teams, right? So like Honda and Suzuki would run 3 of the best riders in the world on the 24-hour clock to run that race. Mouse ran it alone. If you ever want to see the actual footage of that, they made a movie called Dust to Glory, which I highly recommend. But Mouse did that race on his own. Nobody else turning over with him to win that, to go compete in that race. So Carm knew that he was great on a motorcycle, but he was kind of past his racing days. So she'd never really seen him ride. And so as she described it, there's a race, I guess, with all the Hollywood stuntmen, so who are all like motocross, race cars, know how to, obviously jump out of buildings, do all that stuff, but they're all super high intense, high adrenaline guys. But I guess once a year, somewhere around Thanksgiving, they have a race that's called, I think it's called the Day in the Dirt, Day in the Dust, something like that. But it's a race, like a motocross race with a big, like a track, and all the stuntmen race. And it's a big day to party and enjoy and have fun, but they do this big race. Apparently, that race is very competitive, and who's going to win is never known as long as Mouse doesn't show up. If he shows up, then the only race that's taken place is for second. That's how good he is. So Carm doesn't really know this. She'd heard that, but she goes out and watches this race. She's never seen her husband on an actual racing bike. And he wins by laps people. He wins people so bad. And here she is after the race, seeing her husband in his motocross combat gear covered in dust and blood. And she's like, I've never been so turned on in my life or so excited to see him do the thing that he's the best at. And little did I know it was not part of our life because we got married later. But seeing him race was just the coolest thing. And all of us are listening to that. We're like, man, that is cool. And then she said a line that I'll never forget. She said, I think all your ladies in that booth are about to see you race. It was unbelievable because what we do is in the shadows. It's not something that's seen every day. It's grown now and people see it, but it was a very special moment to know that our families saw what we did for a living kind of in full 4K HD and take a look at what your husband, papa, all that stuff does. If you get a chance in your job, no matter what it is, to let those that love you see you race, it's a special, special thing. Ever onward.